Welcome to our kitchen. Today we prepare medieval zanzarelli, a soup with bread and cheese, from a 15th century cookbook, Maestro Martino's Libro de Arte Coquinaria. We start with ingredients. We need cheese, eggs, bread, and the spices, black pepper, cinnamon, cloves, and saffron. We mix eggs, grated stale bread, and grated cheese. We use Parmigiano, but you can choose another kind of aged cheese, for example Pecorino. The author gives the amount of ingredients for 10 servings: 8 eggs, half a pound of cheese, which is a bit more than 160 grams, and 1 bread. It's not clear how much 1 bread weighed at Maestro Martino's times. We suggest using about the same amount of bread and cheese, adjusting the quantities of ingredients and keeping more or less the same ratio. However, there is no need to be precise. This dish can turn out really well, even changing the ratio considerably. This is just one of the 4 recipes for zanzarelli in the Libro de Arte Coquinaria. For one of them, called zanzarelli bocconcelli, which means zanzarelli morsels, Maestro Martino suggests preparing a harder dough and cutting it into pieces as big as fava beans, then cooking them in broth. The outcome is more similar to pasta than to a soup. It is a method quite similar to the one for medieval gnocchi, and recalls a bit Anonimo Veneziano's Vivanda Bona, which we prepared recently. You find the links to the videos in the description below. The other variants for zanzarelli are made in the same way as the one we're making today, which is very similar to a traditional Italian dish called stracciatella. The difference is in the color. The zanzarelli we're making are yellow, but you can prepare them green, adding to the broth a green juice instead of saffron, obtained by pounding and sifting chard, parsley, and wheat leaves with a bit of water. You can also make white zanzarelli with a mixture of almond milk, white bread, and egg whites, cooked in broth diluted with almond milk. Except for saffron, the author doesn't specify which spices to use. You can choose among the most used in the Middle Ages. For example, ginger, nutmeg, grains of paradise, and other kinds of pepper. Then we steep the saffron in warm water and grind the spices. Parmigiano was one of the most popular cheeses, starting from the Middle Ages, as we read in Giovanni Boccaccio's Decameron and in Pantaleo's Summa Lacticinorum, a dietetic source entirely dedicated to dairy products. Pantaleo describes both Parmigiano and Piacentino, similar to Parmigiano but produced in Piacenza, Milano, Novara, and Vercelli. A cheese weighing 100 pounds, excellent and aged up to 3 or 4 years. Still today, there is a distinction between Parmigiano and Grana Padano, prepared in different territories. In a 16th century source, a humorous short text about this cheese, written by Giulio Landi, the author describes its production. In ancient times, the kings were shepherds and cheesemakers, and to make cheese in such a good way is a thing for lords, kings, and emperors. It is not made by rough and filthy peasants indeed, but by beautiful and pleasant shepherdesses, with blonde braids and white small shoes, who milk the cows singing the praises of the milk and cows. Piacentino cheese is so good that all the ink and pens of the world would not be enough. It is round because it's the most perfect among the shapes, eaten by breakfast, lunch, afternoon snack and dinner, used to prepare whichever kinds of plates, and eaten with apples and pears. To know more about historical food and read the translations of cookbooks and dietetic sources, check out our Patreon page, in which you find once a week a new article and once a month a new translation of historical sources. We cook the zanzarelli in chicken broth. We add the saffron, and when the broth starts boiling again, we add the mixture and stir. We cook the zanzarelli for 1 minute or even less. If you're interested in food in ancient Rome, check out our new book, Ancient Roman Cooking, available on Amazon in English and Italian in both ebook and printed editions. To support our work, you can also buy us a beer or purchase our merchandise. You find all the links in the description below. We serve the zanzarelli sprinkled with the spices. The soup is hearty and warming, delicious with the spices and cheese. Parmigiano actually makes it perfect, despite the fact that it is really easy and quick to prepare. Traditional stracciatella is usually prepared with just black pepper and nutmeg, but the addition of other spices makes the plate more complex and tasty. This soup is meant to be a first course, and we suggest pairing it with a good pie, such as a chicken pie or pork pastero, or roast chicken with salsa camellina and walnut bread. You find the links to the videos in the description below. If you're interested in ancient foods and flavors, subscribe our channel and consider supporting us on Patreon.